Hey friends, welcome back to Bible Fun with the Duns. Today we read Exodus chapter 9 and we had a few more plagues to add to our repertoire.
Yeah. So in Exodus 9, there are 3 plagues. There's plague number 5, 6, and 7. So at the beginning, now you've got a plague on the livestock. Then you've got a plague of the boils. Then you've got a plague of the hellfire and brimstone that falls down. Now what you got to remember here is that periodically, what you're finding in Scripture is every story is running in similar cycles. Now, here's what I mean by that. So, you're going to find some people in the Bible whose stories kind of have similar tones, similar structures, and then events are also going to do that. So, let me give you a couple examples. So, take Joseph from the book of Genesis. So he's taken from his family, he's taken to Egypt, and bad things happen. It's not great. Well then, but over and over in the book of Genesis, it's talking about Joseph, and it says he finds favor in the eyes of whoever, okay? Several people. And he just kind of moves up and becomes the second most powerful man in Egypt. Well then, you go on to like the book of Esther. And you got Esther being taken away from her family and brought into the harem of the king. And she's lifted up. Why? Because she finds favor in the eyes of those who have her. And she becomes queen. Now, take the similar attitude with, say, the tone of Exodus as a whole. So Exodus is the story of people who are slaves who cannot free themselves, and God sends a deliverer to carry them out. Then go to the Gospels and read how people enslaved in sin and cannot deliver ourselves, God sends the deliverer, Jesus. Then, okay, another connection. So go back to Genesis and read chapters 1 and 2. About the progressive nature of creation. So on day 1, the heavens and the earth, there's lights and stars, and then plants, and then animals, and then people. Notice then how in the plagues, it's a reversal of creation. So you've got a decreation, okay? You've got a great undoing where the Lord is now taking out the plants, and then the animals, and then the health, and then at the very end, people. And so you've got these themes that are dancing around in Scripture, all telling the same story. In chapter 9, this is where I'm going to be Sunday morning. I'm going to talk about the hellfire and brimstone comes down because it's one of the great plagues.
Orville's scared.
Orville. Be sweet. Orville is the plague of our house. Okay. I don't even know what I was talking about.
Sunday you're talking about the hellfire.
Oh yeah. So that's if we only have time to talk about one plague, I think that of all the natural. No, not boils. Because every time I say boils, I think of Coach Boils, head coach. And so I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the hellfire and brimstone because if you look at all the plagues, what's happening? It is a supernatural force happening within the created order that's destroying. I think the hellfire literally falling from the sky is a great way to look at all the plagues and go, these did not come from earth. These came from the Lord. All right, what do you got from this?
So something that stuck out to me as I read through this chapter is this theme of the fear of the Lord. In verse 20, it says, "Whoever feared the word of the Lord among the servants of Pharaoh hurried his slaves and his livestock into the houses." This is the plague over the livestock. "But whoever did not pay attention to the word of the Lord left his slaves and his livestock in the field." They weren't afraid of what was going to happen, even though God had already proved himself a few times. Then just Pharaoh's attitude stuck out to me. In verse 27, it says, "Pharaoh sent and called Moses and Aaron and said to them, 'This time I have sinned. The Lord is in the right, and I and my people are in the wrong. Plead with the Lord, for there's been enough of God's thunder and hail. I will let you go.'" So that's how, I guess, the hellfire and brimstone is how the livestock were killed.
Yeah, if they were left out in the field.
And then Moses responds, and he says in verse 30, he just straight calls them out. And I you see Moses get more and more confident as we go through this. He says, "As for you and your servants, I know that you do not yet fear the Lord your God." And so I can't help but think the fear of the Lord is this vital, basic thing that we must have. It's so important to our knowing God and to actually having a relationship with Him. Proverbs says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and it's what sets humanity apart. They're either going to be wise people or they're going to be foolish. And Proverbs tells us, if you remember as we read through it, the foolish people, that they can't make sense of the things of God and the things of the Bible. And that's what I see here. Pharaoh continues to see these huge miracles. I mean, these plagues are like not an itty bitty thing. They're huge, and it's God's power on display. And it's causing him to relent each time and say, okay, I give up. Please give us relief. But it's not changing his heart. And it's a really important reminder that miracles and works are not the things that change your heart. God is the one who changes your heart, but you have to be a willing participant in that relationship. And so just this idea of the fear of the Lord, this is a very important part of our knowing God and having a relationship with him.
I like what you're talking about. So the fear of the Lord, if you're looking at this just on paper, and we're reading it on paper, Pharaoh actually has the right words, but he's not sincere about it. No. And here's how you can tell. You can tell he's not sincere in what he's saying because it does not follow through in obedience. Okay?
And impact his life when
no
he's
change.
Out of the fire.
That's right. No change. It's all about momentary relief, but it's not. It doesn't come through with heart change. So Jesus is going to say, "He who has my commandments and keeps them, he it is who loves me, and he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and will manifest myself to him." So Pharaoh's got the right words, but he's got no follow through, which shows the insincerity of his own heart. Now, let me tell you why this is dangerous. Because we do know that there are some people in Egypt who are believing, okay? Because just a few verses before, it said that those who heard about the plague, they brought in their animals, they brought in their servants. We know that's not the Israelites because they weren't affected by the plague. There's like a shield over them, okay? These are Egyptians. And so some are believing that Pharaoh is not. And we know he's not because he's not obeying. So right words, no obedience, no heart change. And it's just so scary. Because
today
it's scary because it's possible for people, like I know people all the time, when I'll talk to people about whether or not they're followers of Jesus, they'll tell me, "Oh yeah, I'm saved." And I'll say, "Great, tell me about that." And they go, "Well, I asked Jesus into my heart when I was 7. And I'm like, "Hey, great, tell me what that looks like." Mm-hmm. And like they don't walk with the Lord, they don't serve the Lord, they don't go to church. There's no fruit coming out of that.
Life impact.
But they think because I said the words, then it's a sincere. And I'm telling you, so here's how you test the fruit. You test the fruit to see. You test the sincerity by the fruit. Okay. So those who love me keep my commandments. The sincerity of it is in has it affected your life into great obedience yet? I think there's a great takeaway in this chapter in that, and a moment of like reflecting and examining the fruit of our lives. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's what we got out of this chapter. We'll see you in chapter 9 on Sunday morning.
Oh, Sunday morning.
Yeah, Sunday morning on Sunday morning we'll be in chapter 9. We'll see you on Monday in chapter 10. See you then. Bye.
Bye.